Yeah. As I said, our general group policy is like everyone, doesn't matter what your political affiliation is, that you're welcome to our
I
games. Just
suppose that is
outright.
something I'll say outright. So at our table, we do have people who are far left, far right, middle, centrist, whatever. It doesn't really matter. The topic of politics and things like that has come up at our table. We try to actually talk on the topic.
Mm-hmm.
Mind you, there can be butting heads between certain parties, but overall, generally, in my mind on politics, it's best if people can actively have an open, good conversation, that people are looking for not necessarily a meaningful resolution, but a meaningful understanding of each other's perspective on things. And our group, I feel like, has mostly attained that. There's only so much you can do in some circumstances of butting heads in the far sides, but for the most part, we've made it work.
Yeah.
We're not trying to limit other people out of it based on whatever their opinions are in that matter.
There's like two general rules with politics at the table. There's the universal safe rule that apply. You can just automatically default to this one. That politics is of all types. Anything that's related to any culture, modern culture, movement, or politics is forbidden at the table, and that is usually the general safe option. Just like, no, you don't bring up modern politics or things related to modern politics at the table,
I
and
parody
that's
modern politics in my
yeah,
games all the
and
time.
and that's the universal safe rule. That's like the default test rule where you can just set that out and like, okay, we're not just gonna do this. We're just let the game be, and go from there. But then there's the second rule, or the version B rule, where we kind of run it at our groups, is that we allow politics. The core rule is that you can't become upset or try to get revenge or throw hissy fits or fights or anything.
Yeah, let's all be adults.
Everyone needs to be like, okay, everyone has their own opinion, they have their own beliefs. Uh, there is no clear right or wrong 100% unless you go to the really far extremes.
Regardless of how
Yeah,
strong you feel on it, you
yeah.
can't know anything for sure. There's so
Mm-hmm.
much propaganda on both sides. Yes, I know that I might get hate for that, but it's true regardless, or at least in my opinion. Um, so realistically, you shouldn't get into a big hissy fit because maybe one side's an echo chamber or the other side's an echo chamber and someone has big opinions. Just
Or they're both echo chambers.
that's what I'm saying, yeah.
Yeah.
Just be adults and talk through things
Mm-hmm.
because people might think the other person thinks this and then they don't, and so on and so forth. And just having open conversations works through a lot.
Yeah. And then the rule the B rule, where you can talk. Generally keep a point of avoiding people getting really drunk, because that
Oh
tends
yeah,
to
yeah.
get
Very
makes
drunk
it
can
worse.
make it worse. Yeah.
And the general rule is on top of that as well, is that everyone should at least avoid raising their voice and just
Oh,
talk
absolutely.
calmly. Maybe stay seated, relax. We're here to have fun. We can have some conversations about the differences between socialism and fascism, or economic theories or stuff like that. We might even make parodies, and that's also like the B onto B. You can like, oh yeah, we can go ahead and like mix politics into the games. However, all sides are free and fair. We can make fun. You might be someone that is on the socialist left. You bonus points if you can make fun of the socialist left when you're in your game. You can have
Yeah.
fun. Like, oh yeah, there's these goofy things, and then someone on the right can make fun of the right and make fun of the left, and oh, just make it all into jokes like
Yeah.
South Park style, so you can
Exactly.
have fun with it. Like, they're not perfect, and they don't have all the answers every time. And fundamentally, I'm gonna probably stick that meme in the Discord messages for John to grab and stick up here.
Yeah.
That it's basically the chain of understanding of math, of biology to science to mathematics. Mathematics is based in philosophy. Philosophy is fundamentally born from misunderstanding of language.
Yep.
Sometimes people. Let's rephrase this. We do not have a perfect comprehension of all the details, even within our own personal belief system. I have my own political leanings and history as I've moved from one political side to another and then swung back and felt around. I moved towards one political corner and it's like, try to feel out where I am. And
which is perfectly normal.
Because I'm a dynamic person, I'm trying to work out, like, I agree with people on the political left when it comes to these things. I agree with the people on the political right about these things. And then I have this third position movement where I kind of agree principally with this whole section right here. But sometimes you need a bit of this political section. I'm actually using the political compass. But I got reversed because I got my left hand over here and my right hand over here.
Okay.
But it's supposed to be flipped around the other way. You have the authoritarian, the libertarian, the left, and the right.
Yep.
And then there's center. And
there's a whole spectrum.
And kind of just move around trying to feel it out. Sometimes I get really pissed off with the freaking right because you get off into weird tangents. And then I wander back over towards the left. And oh my God, please stop doing that. And then I wander back over and like, oh God. Yeah. But anyways, people have their own level of understanding based on their level of knowledge of language. And their level of knowledge of language is the capacity in which they can frame things and understand those things by the words they apply to them and the relationship of those words between other concepts. And humans are not 5-dimensional beings or 6-dimensional, 7-dimensional. So as you only have so many angles you can understand things from, and you can only build from things that people have built from before. You modify and expand upward from that whole concept structure.
Yeah.
And you have to remember that people before you are also people. They might have some good ideas, but they also have some dumb ideas. And quite frankly, you have to figure out where the good is in that and where the bad is. And sometimes as you get older, you move through life and like, I had this right and I had this right, but I had that completely fucking wrong.
Yep.
That's just, I don't know why I thought of that. And no adult in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, if they think back to when they were young, is like, I knew everything when I was in my teens and 20s.
Yeah.
And the answer is no, I did not. I learned some stuff. I still have stuff to learn. And one of those fundamental growth things as a human being growing from a child to adult is that a part of growing into adult is realizing you're still a child at some level. You're always growing, and at some point you either keep going or you hit a point of energy.
Plateau.
You have an energy limitation or time limitation, and you kind of slow down and plateau because you don't have the time or the energy or spending more time and energy into learning about these things is not beneficial to you because you have to worry about these other things that
survival
are more essential. So
yeah.
As society improves and grows, you gain more opportunity to do so.
Completely agree. I was going to say, so that's for us, our opinions on politics at the table. For you and your table, it's up to you to figure out what works for you and what's right, whether or not you can talk about politics or religion, whether or not it's a hard pass, it should not be discussed. For us and our table, we allow it, but we generally veer toward, it's not like it's like an active talking point, but it's not a problem if it does come up as long as things are approached properly, and it's totally fine to parody it. Same deal for other hot topics, we don't care if they get parodied. If someone wanted to like parody a religion in their world, the Crusades, it's totally fine. It's all fair game. Have fun with it. But we're not like actively going out to do that kind of stuff. It's just not generally problematic.
Generally, one of the signs of growth and maturity is the capacity to not just. I'm not talking about laughing at the other political side. The capacity to recognize the faults in your own political side and position and laugh at some of the faults in that, because obviously whenever people get into social tribes or groups, you always have some individuals in it that go off into the ridiculous ends of it and keep amping it up into ridiculousness. And that applies to all political parties. The bigger the political party, the more frequent those people become, because it's a bigger group and you have more people in it, and that group gets bigger and bigger inside that group. Not just because by percentage of the group, but it's literally just a bigger group of people inside the group. That makes sense, yeah. So yeah. Probably the ultimate sign of maturity is recognizing the faults in all groups and the strengths. And I've oftentimes theorized that everyone has a bit of the truth, but they don't necessarily know which parts are the truth and which parts are just contamination from misunderstanding of various things. That's a good word for it.
All right. That's our thoughts on politics when it comes to D&D, your group, TTRPGs, your group, and whether or not you allow it or not, entirely up to you. We allow it. You don't need to if it's a problem. Personally, when it comes down to it in the end, I think a good closing point is, as long as everyone can be generally respectful and isn't making it a huge problem, if you will, they've got a spot at the table. Just because you lean one way or lean the other, it's not an issue. It's only if you get to not necessarily the extremes, because the extremes can still bond and be friends, right? That's not inherently impossible, right? But it's only when people are just like constantly trying to, let's say, pick at each other or try and hinder someone else's enjoyment, that's when things become a problem with the dynamic, I suppose, for me. Mm-hmm. But we don't really want to run into that issue, which I think we got a real solid group in that front.
We mostly focus on the game itself and the nerd cultures that intersect with the games itself. Yeah. And sometimes some people are fans of anime and we have a conversation of anime, and some people really enjoy movies of different eras and have conversations about movies, and sometimes there's politics that kind of wiggles up in there, and sometimes you get really surprised. Sometimes people from different political leanings might actually agree with you on several things. Yep. And you might actually have an opportunity to learn from them in those things.
Or you two can find a nice middle ground on a topic as well. Mm-hmm. All right. Do you have a closing point?
Oh, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for watching. John with Tabletop Wisdom and
Jason. A fun fact, at one point in time, we considered calling this channel Dicey Discussions.
Which, go figure, we're talking politics. Thank you for watching. So, you guys have a good day.
That's a dicey discussion.
It was a dicey discussion.